Energy lords. It's fascinating yet quite ordinary. Wild plants and animals once thrived independently in nature, but humans woke up and realized they can control them. With conscious awareness, humans rose above these species, using them for their own needs while they remained in a state of unconscious existence. Structures were then created to dictate how and where these species could live. Whatever goals plants and animals might have, the structure imposes order that negates their natural purpose. From a human perspective, their existence seems reduced to basic needs like food and reproduction. Yet, thinking this way reveals the limited perspective of the so-called superior mind. In reality, every living creature has its own goal. But why? What for? Well, the process of striving to fulfill purpose is the driver for evolution. We will return to this question later, but for now, we will simply state the following fact. The true goal of any living being, whatever its nature, can only be achieved in its natural habitat. Any structure subjects the goals of its elements exclusively to its own interests. The development of tamed or disciplined plants follows the direction man chooses for them. As a result, the elements of the structure sleep even more deeply and finally completely lose touch with their true goals. Take, for example, a herd of wild deer. They have more than enough to deal with. The problem of defending themselves from predators, bringing up offspring, foraging for food, dealing with family relationships, the group hierarchy, as well as simply enjoying life. The life of a herd of cows in the structure of a farm could hardly be more miserable. By providing them with food and shelter, man solved all sorts of problems for these animals, but in exchange, they had to sacrifice their goals to their master, who determines for what purpose and how long they live. It is similar to man selling his soul to the devil, is it not? So what of man? The reality is that in creating these structures, man becomes a slave himself. He loses himself and ceases to understand who he is and what he really wants, the range of his activities being finally reduced to the production, buying, and selling of various different products. At the head of any structure, there is a superstructure pendulum which has no interest in the products at all and focuses purely on actively developing the structure that produces them. Why is that? Well, there's this saying regarding man's relationship with information products that I believe was popularized by a documentary called The Social Dilemma. If the product is free, you're not the customer, you are the product. Energy is the ultimate product. People buy items for comfort or pleasure, while others create things to cause harm. Both scenarios generate energy, positive or negative, which pendulums feed on. It goes beyond material goods. The true currency is energy, and pendulums control this market. Individuals get a small share, but the bulk always goes to the pendulums. One person gets the hay, another reaps the milk. There are even operations conducted on the energy market that mirror operations that take place in the financial market. For example, alcohol is pure energy. When you drink alcohol, you get energy on credit. Alcoholic-induced euphoria is like an energy advance, and the subsequent hangover, the return with interest. You always have to give back more than you borrowed. Pendulums never give away energy for free without profiting somehow from the transaction. Low alcoholic drinks create a mild relaxation as the pendulum quietly drains small amounts of energy. Stronger drinks, however, cause an intense energy surge. Let the vodka be drunk, let the music flow, but this energy is borrowed at a steep cost. The high soon crashes into an even deeper low. Let the vodka flow, get drunk on the music. The stronger the buzz, the harsher the fall. The hangover isn't just physical, it's the pendulum draining your free energy while you're weakened. You can either endure the misery or reach for another drink, i.e. the hair of the dog, which lets the pendulum lend you temporary relief, but always at a price. Unlike skipping out on a bar tab, you cannot escape the pendulum. The more you owe, the harsher its grip. In this state, your free energy is entirely at the pendulum's mercy. It feels like its claws are digging into your heart chakra, pushing you to drink again to stop the torment. As free energy dwindles, so does your willpower, leaving you more vulnerable. Drinking provides a fleeting boost, but leads to an even heavier payback. In extreme cases, the pendulum takes everything, leaving only a lifeless shell. It stops only when there's nothing left to take. Survival depends on breaking free before it's too late. The first credit is always the most generous and joyful, like a grand presentation. The first sip of wine in your life feels extraordinary, but each sip after that feels less special, even unpleasant. This isn't just about dulling sensations. Pendulums offer generously only to lure you in. Once you're hooked, payback is strict with no room for leniency. If you accept this kind of loan, stay aware and realistic about how much you can truly handle. The drunks we see on the street are not simply victims of moral failure as often assumed. These individuals misjudged their ability to repay the energy they borrowed and remain trapped in a cycle of debt. It starts innocently with a celebration and cheer, but the downward spiral creeps in unnoticed. Over time, the momentum builds, becoming an unstoppable force. This is the deceptive nature of an induced shift. Anyone can be pulled into its vortex if unaware. Intense energy-draining experiences are often tied to harmful habits, which act as loans from pendulums. But why are they harmful? It's because pendulums thrive on conflict and amplify negative energy. Anything tempting but harmful always ends poorly because it generates more negative energy. Positive energy, by contrast, is never released in such large amounts. The greatest yield is harvested from individuals who take drugs. The short-lived increased state of euphoria the substance gives the user is nothing compared to the depression that follows. And if the next dose doesn't kick in soon enough, the awful withdrawal experience will suck every last drop of the sorry user's energy. There are also other types of credit with lower interest rates, such as tobacco, coffee, tea, non-alcoholic drinks, social media, chewing gum. And now you're wondering, what on earth does chewing gum have to do with anything? When any need, whether material or spiritual, is fulfilled, energy is being released, be it the energy of pleasure, comfort, or satisfaction. Wanting something creates a buildup of energy, and receiving it releases that energy. Chewing, for example, provides a primal sense of comfort rooted in survival. When you're eating, all is well. However, when you're the one being eaten, things are far less comforting. Habits work in the same way. Once you're a regular client, you're part of the herd. There's no need for a cage because with your attention trapped in the pendulum's grip, you're not going anywhere. When someone fixates on their habit, they emit energy at the pendulum's frequency, focusing entirely on getting the next credit. The pendulum keeps their attention locked, making it harder to think about anything else. This happens because the mind fixates easily. Like a weather vane caught in one directional wind, attention gets stuck. You can see this in the simple example of a song being stuck in your head. Dependence isn't just physiological. For instance, even heavy smokers on a submarine mission stop thinking about cigarettes. When that hatch is sealed and smoking becomes objectively impossible, they accept the situation and don't feel distressed. Their focus shifts entirely because the arrow of intention points elsewhere. However, when the mission ends and they remember smoking is an option, the pendulum pulls their intention back, reigniting the habit. The fixation of intention is also evident in video game or internet addiction. Many people become so hooked that they only feel at ease when sitting in front of a screen. If they step away for even a short time, withdrawal symptoms can appear: headaches, muscle pain, or intense discomfort. However, the moment they return to the screen, these symptoms vanish immediately. Clearly, this dependency is not physiological, but psychological, driven by the pendulum's grip on their attention. All dependency arises because the arrow of attention has been caught in the pendulum's noose. In order to come off the needle, you have to switch your attention to something else. Willpower alone often fails to break a harmful habit, just as you can't stop a song stuck in your head without replacing it with another tune. Habits are tied to specific triggers, routines, environments, or associations that reinforce the behavior. For example, a smoke break at work is linked to the script of stepping outside, chatting with colleagues, or enjoying a momentary pause. These familiar cues create a setting that locks your attention and makes the habit feel automatic. To break free, you must change the script and scenery. It's not hard, just decide, use some creativity, and rewrite the habit. Again, there is only one way to pay off all your debts and walk away from the predatory bank. Change the script and scenery. It is not difficult to do, you just have to want to do it and then apply a little imagination. People are literally herded, if not cultivated. The entire life of civilized society represents one continual process of consuming and giving away energy, and the entire exchange is controlled by pendulums. The real danger of the structure isn't just that it harvests human energy, but that it erases individual paths. People forget that they have their own unique journey. Instead, they follow the structure's demands, losing sight of their own purpose. People not only carry out whatever the structure orders, they begin wanting the very things that are of sole benefit to the structure, and they forget that their own true path even exists. Please do not delude yourself with the idea that man is a rational being and would never permit themselves to become enslaved in such a way. We have already shown that human awareness functions at a low level. The structure is slowly but surely causing the last remains of awareness to be reduced even further. In order to secure total victory, the structure must unite all of its elements into a single informational field, and this process is already being facilitated rapidly and very successfully. Man may only have a few bricks left before he finally walls himself in completely. So, what can be done? It turns out that if you consume the products of civilization, you are being shepherded, this time without quotations. Some people have attempted to escape civilization by forming communities in the wilderness. While their success is debatable, modern humans generally struggle to fully detach from civilization. However, it's practical to minimize reliance on harmful products and embrace nature's gifts instead. For instance, you could create a family plot with a garden or vegetable patch. The biggest advantage of such space is that you set your own rules, not the structure. Whether you pave everything in concrete or nurture a wild, diverse garden is entirely up to you. For those living in cities, transitioning to a diet of organic and natural foods is another option. This requires awareness that the shiny supermarket apple is also often tailored for the structure, and it has its own associated health issues. Everyone has their own path. It's essential to choose what resonates with you. There is nothing wrong with making the most of the benefits of civilization as long as you do not become addicted or dependent. You can tell a free individual from the herd because of their awareness. All you have to do is wake up and become aware of what is really happening. Now, dear maker, run away from the farm and return to the wild of your soul.